roster. Now that's how many people we currently have on a roster. I don't get to compete with everybody. And so at Extreme King, I become that measuring stick where I can kind of get a feel for everybody. I know who's a threat, who's not a threat, who's coming up, who's going down. And so it kind of lets me know instinctually who I need to look out for and who I don't, and maybe who's becoming a bigger threat than what maybe they're leading on. So Extreme King's a good way to gauge where everybody's at.
What's your mindset in this one particular, let's say, versus prior years you were number one, or even prior years when you actually won the Extreme King, which I've actually put the link up here right on the screen to remind you of it.
So, I mean, this year is my biggest goal is, now I got somebody who's going to have my back. So I just have to last in there until my tag team partner gets in whenever he comes in. And then,
But you guys have history too. Are you confident that when it comes down to it, you and Fletch be, is that something you're confident in, though?
well, here's the thing. We've had this conversation before. I mean, we had it, of course, with Extreme King coming up. If it comes down to me and him, and it's just then we can compete,
That's
and
fair.
see who's going to go out over top. Because either way, we're the tag team champs, and then one of us is going to have the opportunity to be the world heavyweight champion. And boy, wouldn't that look good for the Outriders to be double champions. So, if it
For
comes
sure.
down between us, then we'll duke it out. We've done it in the past, so. But until it hits that point, we're eliminating every son bitch that we see in front of us. So
Let me ask you before I bring up Fletch here in a second, because he actually wants to say you can trust him. So I'll basically just put that comment out there. But let me ask you though this: we're watching the 2021 victory that you had. Do you think about that going into this one in particular, or you kind of don't think about it because you're the number one entrant? I'm curious, how much do you look back on this as we're watching the Extreme King itself now?
I think about it every time that we have an Extreme King match because it reminds me of what it takes to get to the end of one. It lets me know, exactly what I need to do to get to the end. Because here's the thing: not everybody who enters Extreme King, there's 30 of us. Not everybody's making it to the final three, the final four, the final six, the final 10. And I've made it pretty far every year I've competed into it, and we'll see how far I make it this year, but it lets me know what I need to do. It keeps me in line. It's just like everything else. Whenever you win a world title and you compete for a world title match, you think back on how you won that last one. It's just simply analyzing the facts in front of you and then adjusting based on need.
Is there a strategy? Again,
Look
I've
at Kurt
interviewed a lot of
Acid. Can
guys.
I just say that for a second? Look at him. He's in there.
I know, I see it. I
I
obviously
miss
I
that
get.
guy. God, what a good guy.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, that these things. Do you think about him and watching this or going into the Extreme King? Do you think about him a lot?
I think about him a lot in general, just because like a lot of people don't know this, but Kurt Acid played a masked character called Evil, or it was and it was Evil Darkness, and I wrestled him when I first started as my first feud, and then I went on to wrestle Genocide as Kurt Acid. So I wrestled him for probably my first year and a half in the company, and then I wrestled Jesse and then Fletch and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean I think about him a lot. He's the one who taught me a lot about stuff, and him and Fletch together. Without those two, like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, I think everybody thinks about him a lot. We have pictures hung up of him. I mean, we always do the Kurt Aston Memorial every year. It's kind of hard not to think about him. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this question: what would it mean to you to win the Extreme King for a second time? What would that mean to you?
It would mean a lot. I mean, it's the same for every competitor. I mean, obviously, it's our ticket to the one thing that matters. Summer Mania. It's not only the ticket to Mania, but it's the ticket to the main event of Summer Mania for that coveted world title. So I mean, winning it a second time not only lets me know where I'm at because as long as I've been around, I only have two options. I can go up or down. And I don't plan on going down. So I mean, it lets
Nobody
me know
wants
that
to
I'm
go
still on
down
the
in
up and
life.
up.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
obvious. Nobody wants to go down, you know?
Yeah, I don't like losing, you know. I didn't used to mind it the younger I was, but the older I get now, I'm like, I don't
There was a
fucking care
line
so much.
I saw. It was in the Who Killed WCW documentary on Vice. I think it was last week's show. And Hulk Hogan, guys were knocking him when he said the line was, "Yeah, I'm old, but everybody else is getting older by the day." And that's really the truth in life. Everybody gets older
Correct.
by the day. So you can, take it for what it's worth and try to use it to your advantages. That's why, in a way, like nobody wants to go down. We get older every day. You can't
Yeah.
stop that. But what the best you can do is to try to go out there and, you know, make the most of what's in front of you. And you got a really, unique opportunity. Obviously, you and Fletch are both tag team champions. He's obviously going to want the same thing. But you've got an opportunity really to make quite a mark. If you win this and
Yep.
win it as the number one entrant, then go into the main event of SummerMania, and you're a tag champ. I mean, that's a pretty big deal right now from where you are and where you were even 9 months ago when you came on this platform. If you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main goal, I mean, if I can't win it, right? Say I can't win is making sure EBW can't win it either. You know, that's the one thing that's always on the top of my mind. That's the thing that still is coming up. I mean, if you remember, we announced it, last week or last show that came out. We're gonna be in a match at Extreme King. Me and my tag partner
Yep.
against the EBW against Brady Branson and James Cerebral in a Pandora's box, no less. So, EBW is still on our radar. We definitely need to make sure that not only do we beat them, but they have no reason to come back for our tag titles, and then maybe move on and see what's next from there. I mean, as we talked about just a little bit ago, the real ones are seem real interested. So,
Well, before I get to that, you're gonna wrestle twice technically. You're the number one entrant. You're having a
yeah.
tag title match. How do you conserve your energy? How do you be able to focus on accomplishing both tasks at hand? Now, I'm always curious in that because not many guys in a thing like this will do,
Mhm.
double duty. I interviewed a guy, Jam Dog, over in CCW. They had their version of what you have in Extreme King in January, and he wrestled. He technically wrestled twice, and he had the same thing. He wrestled to open the show, and he came back and wrestled in their rumble, but
Mhm.
he wasn't announced, but he came in and he was announced. They tried to take it. It's a long story, but the point is he did double duty. How do you kind of conserve your energy to kind of
So
retain the tag titles and obviously go into this number one in Extreme King and try to win the whole thing? How do you like be able to pull that off?
So you have two options when you're going towards something that sucks real bad. Because let's be honest, looking at the facts, I mean that's not only a human feat of stamina, it sucks, right?
Oh,
So you have
sure. I
two
mean, listen, we
options,
think about it even in wrestling history. Shawn Michaels number one, and I'm
right?
not. There's another name out there that was number. I think Rey Mysterio was what, number two or number one year when he won. And there's
Yep,
Randy. There's a lot of guys out there that have done this. Gunther has
yep,
obviously lasted and didn't win, but he put what a show 2 years ago. And but
right,
it's like very hard to be in a rumble battle royal, whatever it is, to be in there that long. And you're going to be in there a long time if you're going to win this. I mean, and you're going to be wrestling, could be what, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is,
right.
before you go in there. I mean, that's a lot, man. It's not easy.
Right. I mean, and like I said, like when you're faced with something that's difficult in general, whether it's this or any aspect of life, you have two options. You can either think about how much it sucks the entire time, or you can embrace the suck and just fuck it. You know what I mean? So I mean, if when I go in to things like this, because this wasn't my first time doing this. This year, when I was wrestling at Extreme King, as we're watching now, I mean, I wrestled another match on the show, I believe, with Hayden Vex, and so it is what it is. You just gotta kind of embrace it. You gotta make the best of it. Not only do you embrace it, you accept it, and like I said, I just get real aggressive with it sometimes. I put my head down, my chin up, and make sure stuff goes in my direction until I can't. Because at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. You can't stress about shit that hadn't happened yet. So why not? you know.
Do you feel like you're in a good place in your career right now?
I think that I'm finally at a place in my career where I don't have a personal hatred for somebody else that I'm competing against. When it was Justin Parsley that first time around. I mean, we of course did not like each other, when it was me and Fletch that last time around, I mean, I disbanded, Vengeance and
Well, a
beat
lot of
him.
people would say join the club on that, but I'll
Yeah,
leave that
I
out
mean,
there.
it's and then before even then, like when I was considered not such a nice guy, but I mean that's not objective. I mean Brady Branson, it's just I've always had some personal heat with somebody. I mean, and don't get me wrong, now trust me, I still have some personal heat with EBW and everybody included in that. But at least now I have somebody, or at least a group of people that share that, so it feels like it's less personal. It's more just is what it is, and we can
Before I go,
focus.
there's a bunch of comments, and I want to get to everybody. Just hang on 1 second, bear with me. I want to say also hello to everybody
Sure.
out there on the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page and the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page. Hello out there. Thank you for joining us. Let me go back to one thing you said on EBW, because you talked about
Sure.
EBWs in it, and EBW is going to want to obviously make a mark here and win this. Obviously, their backs are against the wall. We've talked about the dissension. We've talked about kind of where they are right now. Is there a concern or a thought that they just might be so motivated, all of them, that one of them wins it and it takes away from either your goal or anybody else's goal? I know you're on the XCW side of the locker room. I know that there is still this EBW, XCW thing. Is there talk amongst those on Team XCW that whatever at all costs to stop anybody from EBW to win Extreme King, whether again it's Maverick, whether it's Brady Branson, whether it's Miano Diaz or James Cerebral, let's say? Is there just that much of a
Sure.
talk in the locker room about that?
I can't speak on any backstage meetings that may or may not occur before between a select group of guys on the XCW side of things to make sure that EBW doesn't thrive in their current position. I can't speak on that, but what I will say is we all do communicate with each other quite regularly. I mean, when the locker room is very much split, you do kind of have a limited, amount of people that you want to communicate with. And when you are communicating with those people, statistically it's about how much you hate the other guys, right? So we definitely do what we can, not only inside the ring but outside the ring, to not only keep EBW in check, but just to kind of keep a close eye on what's going on, which is funny enough because again, we don't know who's taking these videos of EBW and their backstage debacles, but boy is it
Do you
helping
have
us
any
out on our end.
inclination on that? You talked about this earlier. It's been a big topic. We see it almost every week on XCW shows. I mean, is there any
Sure.
inclination you have on that?
No.
No.
I mean that's the thing. So like that's one thing that makes my tag team partner so great too is I don't do a lot of brain thinking if I don't have to. It's more of an instinct based thing for me. So I mean, do I know who's doing it? No, not really. I think it could be a very different. It could be anybody. In all honesty,
Sure.
my guess would be somebody who's close enough to EBW but not close enough to EBW at the same time. Like I said, I just it's could
Well,
be
that would
anybody
throw
in
out. I
there.
mean, Jackson Law's the EBW champion. I mean, they've
Sure.
had problems with him. I mean, you're going to throw it out there, and Brady Branson. There's been a lot of talk there. I mean, Tommy Merriman was in the group. I'm just throwing names out there, spitballing. I
Yeah.
don't know if those are,
Well, if you
you know,
remember, Tommy Merriman was secretly recorded too. So it's just this has been happening for months now at this
yeah. It's
point.
been
So
about almost what 2 months now, about right? About 2 months
yeah,
or something
yeah,
between.
and you've had so many people come in and out of EBW. I mean, not to
It,
take a
it was
shot, but
it became
also
for a
to
brief
take a
period. It was almost
shot.
like it was like the NWO black and white. It was like,
Yeah,
okay,
I
who's in
mean,
the group now? I mean,
for the
I need a
longest time, I
scorecard.
thought me and ACT were going to end up being Sting. I definitely understand that.
Yeah, when you were here, yep, it was you and ACT that were kind of leading the charge. The real ones still were
Yep,
just getting their feet kind of under them. Yeah, you guys were leading the charge, and that's kind of where it was. I'm gonna get to some comments here because some people want to give some advice.
sure.
The Boogeyman of the Midwest, of course, the Hardcore God. He is the DKW champion and also the IMF Hardcore champion. It is his show. Mr. Omen Black says, "Been there, Tom. King of the Center. I won the DKW title and then went into the Rumble #1 and made it to the Final Four." Good point, obviously, and not easy at all to win.
It's fucking awful.
Well, Shawn Michaels, I think, was #1, right? When he won in
Yeah,
1990,
Shawn
was it?
Michaels, I think, has the most times entered number one. That poor guy.
Well, you know what? But he's Shawn Michaels, so there's if anybody could pull it off, it's a Shawn Michaels. The essential one, real interested, 7 successful title defenses, second longest reigning tag champs of XCW. In the words of Nature Boy Ric Flair, not Gage Flair, right? You want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Woo! LOL. Wanted to give him the woo there. Also here, Rob, you head your head. Oh, I got it. Sorry, my eyes must be needing to get checked. Rob, I have 7 lights in the background. Rob, your head must be steaming after typing that long of a sentence. Tell Justin you did a good job. You deserve a cookie, little buddy.
That's the
That's
funniest thing I've heard today. That's
yeah,
amazing.
that was pretty funny. And I want to say hello to one of our favorites, and of course, a man that's going to be here Friday night. Cheap plug. He was the XCW New Age champion earlier in the year. The now outsider Jack Delta, the ROEW champion, just had maybe the best match of 2024 for the second time against JX, by the way, who we've seen in XCW quite a bit. Hey, look, it's one of the best XCW talents. Much love, gentlemen. See you all super late on Friday. Weekend Warfare took 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Anything you want to share about Jack Delta when he was here in XCW for a little while
So
earlier in the year?
so Jack Delta and I basically never got to work together, and it's one of
Yeah, I
those
know that.
things that we regret deeply, just because of the things that I can do with guys like JX and some other people that we got to meet. Me and Jack Delta think that if there's anybody that can put on a 5-star match, it's him and I. So trust me, there's much interest on my end to wrestle Jack Delta in a 1-on-1. Even if we have to do it in a dark or a vortex or something like that, we'll have to get with Fletch, of course, for something like that. But
Well,
definitely,
it's not going to be a darkened vortex, it's got to be at a big show. It's got to be
oh
something
yeah,
big. It can't
trust
be
me, I
darkened
agree with
vortex.
that. I agree with that. But like
Can't
I
be
said,
darkened vortex. No, 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 no. I'm gonna have to jump in there friendly because it's got to
yeah,
be at a big show. But
I understand. Trust me,
you know.
I feel the same way you do. But
Well,
yeah,
that's good to
absolutely,
hear.
love him. Great guy, phenomenal
Absolutely.
talent, super
Yep,
polite.
Jack. Very, 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 very much looking forward to Jack Delta. But there you are. You win it before we transition. Obviously you get it, and just talk about that for a minute or two before we transition to another favorite on Sportswire and Mr. Justin
Yeah.
Parsley. What do you see here, and what does it mean to you? And how hot was it that day?
So we always do it at like the middle of June or beginning of June. So it's always a crisp, 90,000 degrees outside. So it's with whenever you finish doing anything hard, whether it's a hard workout or, running a triathlon or doing something that not only requires, a lot of endurance or physical strength, but something that has an end goal or something that you can accomplish at the end. I mean, by the time that you're done, you're so exhausted, but you're also so pumped and full of adrenaline that you don't feel it. It doesn't matter. And then by the time it wears off, you just feel so good because of everything that you just went through. So, I mean, winning Extreme King is the payoff for how hard it is to enter number one, and do everything there. So,
And there's no question that's quite what you just did is quite an adrenaline rush. There's no question, what you did there, is obviously something that, a lot of people, would obviously be very, very, lucky to accomplish there. And you certainly did that and some. And, now I'm going to actually transition to something because I've been waiting for it before. I actually,
yep.
Jack Delta's got another comment. And it's Jack Delta. So I'm going to let him say something. You had me out there a few times now, but we had to make sure I wrestled absolute classics against ACT and Jesse Justice. I'm going to leave that there and just say that's what he said, and I didn't say it this time. So that's what he said because I aired my opinions on that, and I obviously though look, we never say never. Anything is
Correct.
possible. You never know. Listen, a lot of times, sometimes you think something won't happen again, and it does happen again. So you
My
just
my tag team partner seems to be one of the most powerful men in XCW. I'm sure
I've
that
heard. So I've heard. Yeah, so I've
I'm
heard.
sure I could talk to him about something. Yeah,
Well, I'm
I'll
sure
reach
he's
out.
out there watching and listening. And look, you never say never. Yeah, that's the most common word. So you just you
Yeah, he's
never
a great
know.
guy. He's he'll listen. Yeah,
All right.
no,
Well, you know what? Obviously, look. Well, everybody's always. My book is always open. I'm always a line of communication. But I got a good one
absolutely.
from my guest Sunday night before I transition to Justin Parsley, and that is none other than Mr. Julian Void Jacobs. Hey, Brogan, you remember when you broke my ribs and your move got banned? Hashtag never forget. you want to tell us something, or maybe not tell us something? Because if you can't tell us to it, that's okay too. But
I just happened to do a flipping leg drop, and when I did,
you
I
landed
hit
the wrong
void.
way and you hurt Julian Voigt Jacobs.
Oh
He's a big
yeah,
man. You don't want to get him angry. There's a lot of people
yeah.
you want to get angry, but he's not one of them. Like
You
it's
know,
like
it's
him and Big
funny.
Man Cam.
Julian Boyd Jacobs outside of the ring is probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your
Oh, I
entire life.
follow him on Facebook. He always talks
Yeah,
about the Indiana Pacers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I always am watching his comments and his sports post. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I love
oh
Julian
yeah,
Jacobs. But you broke
absolutely.
his ribs, though. I mean, I'm sorry you
Oh
did that.
yeah, I mean we
But
made
your
up for it. You know, it's fine.
Well, I mean, somebody's heart you might have broke a little bit. Maybe you put him into a real tailspin here. So I'm going to come up here shortly, and I've been
Yeah.
waiting for this toward the second half of the show. That is none other than, of course, Mr. Justin Parsley. Obviously, good old Justin Parsley, three-time Hall of Famer. And I'm going to put the match up here on the screen. And obviously, I'm really putting it up because I'm sure that he's going to be watching it now. And Rob Slater, the essential one here, is you've got some history with Justin Parsley, and the real ones had all the success toward the end of 2023, and now it seems like they're really trying to find their footing again.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is with any successful tag team or most successful tag teams is eventually you find that one team that not only where you weren't expected to come together, but it matches and goes against your style so well that they hit a roadblock. You know, I mean, Parsley has had matches with the likes of myself and Fletch
We
separately.
know
You
that
know,
last year, obviously, Summer Mania. Justin was here right
exactly.
before that match. I remember it very well.
Exactly. So we did have, I felt like the upper hand coming into it because we just knew how Parsley worked, and Rob, had been gone from the company for so long, and then came in with Justin, and doing the great job they did, the year before. We got to sit back and study them and see how they work. So we came in and we not only did Fletcher and I come together at a time that nobody else thought that we would, but we sat there and we dissected everything that they had done, their flow, the things that they were good at, the things that we felt like they weren't so good at, and we ended up coming out on top. So
Let me
absolutely.
let, let me ask you a different question. I'll get to some more comments. Say hello to people. But
Sure.
Justin obviously transitioned to being a tag team wrestler for much of 2023, and going into now, Rob and Justin really weren't a tag team. You obviously are now in a tag team with Fletch. Watching them from afar, now obviously wrestling them, a bit here through I guess the middle part of 2024, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
What do you take away from afar, or what did you learn in watching how well Rob and Justin did as a tag team? What do you take away from that in your own situation now, currently with Fletch?
Well, Justin and Rob have been friends for a very, very long period of time. And
Oh,
so
for sure,
the one
absolutely.
thing to take away from tag team wrestling in general too is, the better the tag team, in all honesty, they're probably super close friends. You know what I mean? It's not just about working well together in the ring, it's about being on the same page, whether it be inside the ring or outside of the ring, in life and everything else. So, it me and Fletch honestly just personally are close as well, and so it taught us that no matter how long it had been since somebody had been in a ring, because Parsley before, a couple of years ago hadn't been in an XCW ring, as well as, he hadn't wrestled in a very long time. And then Rob Slater being gone as long as he was, I mean, it taught us that really never goes away. It's just a chemistry they'll always have. And so the more that they work, and just like they have over the last, year and a half or so, the sharper and sharper that tool gets. And so we got to watch out and make sure that we're as sharp, if not a little sharper, as they are. So
I'm curious. I don't even know if you can answer this. We're watching the match here and such, but
sure.
do you ask guys that have been in tag teams just because you're making the transition? Or you don't really need to because you've been doing this a while. Is there like anything with it? Because I'm always curious. Because again, there aren't many guys that come on here who make the transition. Sure, Omen and Soldier tag team, they kind of go and do both. So they don't make the transition. Classically, there's guys who are single, and we're watching, unfortunately for Justin, the match itself, and Justin takes the L. But do you talk to guys, whether it's Justin or Rob or other tag teams, whether it's, breaking the fourth wall here. Brady, James, other tag teams. Patrick O'Reilly, for example, with Miano
Mhm.
Diaz when they were a thing, or Jesse Justice and Jackson Law. We're going down the list of tag teams at XCW. Do you ask Julian and Mitchell Maverick when they were a thing? Do you ask guys,
Sure.
hey, about that transition to help you?
Yeah, and this isn't just to say this because he is my tag team partner and we are the outliers together, but um in my opinion, okay, and all those guys have been in great tag teams. Evan and Brady together were phenomenal.
Sure.
Even Corey Lee and Brendan Stickle together were
Hmm.
fantastic. And so what it is for me is nobody understands my style of wrestling more than Josh Fletcher does. Okay, as well as nobody, in my opinion, okay, understands the physics, the science behind tag team wrestling better than Fletch himself. I mean, if you look through his entire career, you have some of the best tag teams, and if you look at them, the one thing that's always there is Fletch has always been a part of them. Whether it's Shelbyville Heat, whether it's the Vengeance from a couple years ago for everyone else. I mean, Fletch has had a lot of groups in the past. You know what I mean? So if there's anybody out there who's going to not only show me the ropes as tag team wrestling goes, but teach me the science, tell me the flow, and then also be able to correlate that to my style of wrestling, how I do things, my move set, the things I'm good at, the things I'm not so good at. For me to go anybody else, in my opinion, would just be kind of silly. Justin Parsley is a phenomenal wrestler, and he knows a lot about tag team wrestling, and he does think about my style. And he's another guy that I would ask too, about tag team wrestling. It's just Fletch and I have had a relationship that we built over the last 7 or
No,
so
you
years.
have to obviously look. I mean, if you're in a tag team and your partner is Fletch, that's your partner. You're a tag team
Right.
champion. So obviously you have to go and, obviously, work with him in a way. And, that's obviously advice in itself. But I was curious from afar in the other guys in itself, if you did,
Mhm.
but I have a lot more comments. Let me try to get to people here. And
Sure.
first of all,
I tend to bring
people,
that out in people, Tom.
yeah, people, they want to talk. People listen. That's what it is at this point. I mean, I actually took calls on Saturday's show. People were actually wanting to call me up and they wanted to have a conversation. I put them through on the phone. Yeah, we got to make sure when I come out there again, I don't wrestle Brogan or Corey or Hunter Halkin, Jay Ellis, Leon Lux, or Justin Parson. I'm going to run a few with SAT or that legendary. Yeah, that's not, in my mind, that shouldn't be where it's going. If you want to wrestle Brogan O'Shea, yeah, that's where we want to go. We want to go Corey Lee, Hunter Halkin, Jay Ellis, Leon Lux, Justin Parson. Let's get the big names. Let's give me the best. Give me some of
He's
the
so
best.
ridiculous, I swear.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll have him and JX in XTW. They just wrestle in ROW. Maybe it'll happen because JX comes to ROW too from time to time.
Yep.
Julian says, all love, brother, man. Great talent. I agree with you on that. Want to say hello to one of my buddies from the Promo Wrestling Federation page, which I know we have to start here, which is, what's up, everyone? The Wicked One is here. How you doing, Wicked One? Judas, I want to say hello to somebody out there on X who's watching from the friendly, I don't know if it's the friendly confines anymore. I don't know if Brooklyn to me is that friendly, but I'll say it's friendly enough because she's out there. Angela Pink. Angela ran a show yesterday that was for, I believe, a Jewish Center of Brighton Beach. I want to say hello to you, Angela. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing our post here of our clip on our videos here right now on X. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on sportswireradio.org. So I appreciate you for your time and efforts into that event, but being right here with us on midnight here, New York and Indiana. Because I always get confused, Brogan, if Indiana is Central or Eastern. Because like what, half the state's Central and the other half is Eastern. But
Yeah, because
I
what it is they decided we need to wake up with New York for some reason to do business.
I gotta be honest. I don't even know why we have like daylight savings anymore. Like I don't
So
really
what it
get the
is,
whole.
so
Yeah.
anymore it doesn't make sense. But the reason we had it originally is because of farmers.
Yeah, I knew that as a kid. I remember like my father telling me, well, they have it because people in other parts of the country, they obviously farm and they obviously hunt and cook but
But not
now it just
anymore. That's
I
not
was gonna
something we're
say.
doing now.
I was going to say, and before I get to more comments, this is our website. If you ever want to check us out, we have a whole bunch of shows that we play here. We have an internet radio station with like 15 different podcasts are streamed throughout the day. It's actually paid for by yours truly. I put it out there for the community. So if you have a podcast, if you have live music, you can check us out via the Listen Live button. You can obviously look at our website. A list of our Hall of Famers are on the page. You've got statements, articles linked to us. A whole list of different people are out here on this page. Check us out. We're on a whole bunch of other platforms. You can see me before. How about this photo here? Check this out. This was me before the mutton chops. How about this, ladies and gentlemen? This was me before the mutton
Holy
chops.
cow!
Yeah, this was 6 years ago when you started your career. Here I was in 2018, and now I think I have more fans. And that was
The
me. And
mutton chops are a part of you. They can't go
oh, I'm
away.
gonna die with the mutton chops now at this point. Thankfully, I
It's
can.
the Mungo Jerry look for me, man. It's
That's
got to
yeah.
stay.
I'm obviously gonna die with that, but that's I wanted to have fun with the audience. We'll come back
I
to some
love it.
more links, but let me get to more comments. But Omen, the boogeyman of the Midwest, wants to say, when I was in Encounters, Brogan was one of the nicest guys there. Everyone knows where I stand on certain things, but the locker room there was a good group of guys, with the exception of a few guys. Yeah, I think that's really been the consensus for us on this platform. I've always said I love almost everybody in XCW, and I'm so happy you're back with us. I know we had Mitchell Maverick a couple of weeks ago. I know we're going to have Julian Void Jacobs here next Sunday. We had Mitchell Maverick, as I stated. Miano was here. So, everybody's welcome on this platform. There's no, I've always said XCW is always welcome on this platform, and anybody can be here anytime they want. Angela likes the 2018 looks. Well, that was 2018. I like these looks, and the people like it because I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So this seems to be working. So I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's a pretty big accomplishment. And you know what? I want to say this also. I want to thank the people for tuning in real quick before we get to more comments and talk more about Extreme King. Almost 6,000 views on YouTube alone this month. The month's not even over. Almost 6,000 views on Sportswire. So
That's
people,
good.
they seem to like what we're doing here. So I'm going to continue to stay at it because I'm right there with the people, and the people have built this platform as the Church of All Wrestling Matters. So the people built it, and you're going to continue to get it, and I'm very happy about that. Also, Angela said Rasputin, LOL, but yeah, the people are going to get this. They like it. Over almost, let me repeat, almost 6,000 views alone on YouTube for Sportswire. That's not even counting X, Facebook, Instagram, but specifically all the shows we do. 6,000 plus views almost. That's quite an accomplishment. There's people like you and everybody else in those comments. But I got more comments, so let them keep on coming. The talent of Brogan and Fletch combined with years of experience, the Outliers are going to be a historic team, but the real ones I thought wanted to show. Are you guys done with the real? I want to get it out of the way before, because I know Justin Parsh is in the background. Are we going to see the real ones and the Outliers one more time, or what?
Stay tuned. I'll
Stay
tell you
tuned.
that.
I'm going
Just
to be
stay
staying
tuned.
tuned. I'm watching this Thursday. I'm going on the air this Thursday, but before I go on the air, I'm watching Extreme King. So I'm going to make sure, because there's nothing on TBW's on tomorrow. So I got TBW Tuesday. I got Friday, NEW Riot in the Ring. But Thursday, I got Extreme King. So it's Extreme King, and then I'm right on the air on Sportswire. So I'm going to be watching. I'm going to certainly find out. And again, he wanted to say that the real ones are God what losers. So obviously, Omen doesn't seem like he wants the real ones. He feels that you should be done with them. So he's calling them real losers. So that's interesting part here. But Fletch definitely knows tag team wrestling. Yes, there's no question that he's obviously picked you for a reason, and you guys do mesh very well. And also, by the way, before I get to more new comments, how do you like those championship belts, those new belts you got?
Oh my! And so we were talking about it a little bit too. It's like the only time XCW's given us anything. I think the last time XCW gave Fletch anything, it was his papers for termination, and the last time they gave me anything, it was a swift kick in the ass. So I mean, definitely, I understand. What it's like to finally receive something from XCW head office that wasn't bad for us. It wasn't some kind of HR complaint. I think I got 80 of those things sitting somewhere. But it's nice. The D-Tag titles look really good. I mean, a lot of people just to break the boundaries a little bit. A lot of people put in a lot of hard work for that design on those tag belts.
Sure.
And so, I mean, we even had them remade after we got the first set just because we didn't like the way they came out. So, those belts, I mean, belts aren't cheap. We put a lot of money into our
I know
show.
belts.
And
Firsthand, I know what they cost. I've helped out in buying some belts for other things.
so you know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, especially buying two at a time because it's the only champions you need a copy of. So
It's not like I'm going to make people laugh. It's not like when you were kids. I have this hanging up in the background. That's the toy belt, the spinner toy belt. That was when we were kids.
The spinner belt.
That
dude.
was when I don't know if anybody remembers when KB Toys was around. As I remember as a kid, my brothers and I we bought the everybody else like WWE toys, and that was the toy spinner belt. That was like
Yep.
$20. But people, oh, the championship belt, you buy one, it's going to be like $100, or it'll be like that. Not even $100. But now, forget about it. Championship belts are like, to customize them. You're talking minimum like
Yeah.
200, 250, and so it's
Yeah.
definitely expensive for sure.
It definitely
Uh,
can be. And so like a lot of people put a lot of hard work into those belts and they came out really good. It was time for some new ones anyway. And so we've worked really hard over the last couple of years presenting new titles and making sure that not only our value has gone up as a company, but whenever somebody, does successfully hold a title or something happens, it's more of a moment for them instead of getting some, because I mean, look at it, Tom. If you want a world title, would you rather get some nice title with a nice white shiny, belt on it and some gold, or do you want some rickety piece of shit? You want the fake stuff.
I think like everybody else, I'm gonna go out and go the whole
Yeah,
9 yards, the whole kiddo and
exactly.
caboodle for sure, absolutely. Oh, listen,
Exactly.
everybody will answer the same way, and I think that's why it's kind of put that way. But thank you, Angela just shared the link on Twitter. She's probably upset because
Good.
that's okay. But Jackson, I'll actually be on the pre-show for the next JWF show against the Grim Reaper.
I
It's
like
funny
that.
that was a funny one, yeah. But the JWF shows go viral. They seem to be going out
They
there.
really do. They do a really good job.
Let me say hello to Big Man Cam again. See, I like Wicked One Judas, hate the other one because the other one Judas is coming on Saturday night. The other one that was going to
Yeah,
be
I
here
put
from his
that
company.
together after he said it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't want to be on Big Man Cam's bag side, but he seems to like me right now. So I'm going to say we'll have to stick with that. Yeah, Nicholas Cranston was like with that. Well, I technically had the long hair. It was like pushed back in my hat. It was a little shorter than what it is now,
Yep.
but yeah, that was 6 years ago. So yeah, that's
When I had long hair, it was always pushed back in the hat, dude. That's the way to
yeah,
go.
I was trying to go that route, but at this point now, really like even before COVID, but at this point, I'm like kind of like pretty comfortable in life and different things. So I'm
Yep.
going with it, and that's the way it is. And I'm gonna go with it till I'm dead, but that's hopefully not till for a while from now. But although some people might want me dead, who knows? Fletch definitely knows. I think you got that comment in already. I think you put that in a second
Yep.
time. Is this where Silver Wolf and the boys play? He's joking because CJ Black, this guy Silver Wolf. It's a long story. He comes on and he says he wrestles in Triple W. That's Triple W. That's not he. It's a joke. He's trying to be funny. There's a guy. If I explain it, it's a long story, and we're really
It
trying to
doesn't
make.
make it funny. It's a good inside joke. No, trust me, I get
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
understand.
The full card Delta versus the Reefer. I'm going in under 5 minutes to set up a long-term feud. Jackson Law versus Captain Law and a how bad I can misspell my name match. Big Man Kim versus Jacoby is the main event. Well, Big Man Kim's a TikTok influencer, and Jacoby gets like the most views of anybody in XCW or JWF. That might actually go viral for all we know.
Oh yeah, me and him went down. Me and Jacoby have.
I'm not going to be there if I'm not booked Delta. So there, Justin Parsley's made his declarations.
Yep.
Winner keeps the good guy moniker. Also, I want a dream match against Fletch. Add it to the card. Well, I think that there you go. CJ Black wants Fletch, and maybe that'll happen. Who
And
knows?
so
And
that was another hot take I was going to talk about earlier.
go
Whenever
for it.
you
We're live right now. I got 70 people watching. So go ahead,
Yeah, I
go
mean
for it.
that was another hot take you were asking me about earlier about the
Sure.
real ones and what makes me think that we still, have something going on with them. It's what it is like whenever you get a new team in a tag team division, especially ones that have a lot of experience, a lot of
Sure.
repertoire behind them. Because I mean, like you were showing earlier with not only my card, but if you look at Flesh's, I mean it's insane how many titles that guy's held. So when you
I
get
know.
two
It's like
people
I lost
together
count.
like us, I mean, tag teams are going to be calling out of the woodworks. You know what I mean? And you've seen that with Halen and Holden. You've seen that with the real ones. You've seen that with, some other people who've come out, and of course now, and this is great for us and good for them because trust me, I'd wrestle anybody who asks. But for everybody else who wants a shot at the Outliers, it's good because not only is it keeping the tag team division hot, but it's showing not only what we can do as tag champs, but what other people can do, as a tag team. And so the real ones are ones that have had a lot of long-standing in XCW. They've had a successful tag team career, and they're definitely still a threat out there. You know what I mean? I think right now they're having what's called an identity problem, and I think that's something that everybody runs into no matter where they're at. So I definitely don't discount the real ones anyway. I still think that they're a serious threat. My match with Justin Parsley 101 was very, very close. I mean, it could have went either way at that point. So, It's just about who comes out on any given day. So, absolutely.
For sure. And I think I actually got booted because I went to share the link and I got kicked out of StreamYard, but that's okay. CJ said he'll win that match, and Soldier said he knows who will win as well. Also, Jack Delta's having a lot of fun tonight. And I don't know if you're on X out there, let me know, because I, for whatever reason, am not showing X's live right now. So if you want to, please actually let me know. But Justin Parsley, you're in a backstage setup with a three-way feud with C2K and Silverwolf. Not even going to go there on C2K and Silverwolf, guys that shouldn't be in any promotion, really, if we're really being real. CJ, you've got the match with Fletch. It's an Extreme Rules, hardcore street fight, no-hold-barred match. Boy, that's interesting there. Brawl for all. Get them chops ensured. Well, I'm not getting rid of them, so you don't have to worry about it. There's no getting rid of it. But if there's a lockup or an arm wringer, you're effing disqualified. Let me see what else I got here. Thanks for finding a spot for me, JD, Jack Delta. Not fair, though. He's got 6 years on the Indies. I need my wrestling. The wrestling's so funny. Real ones versus outliers. Fact versus fiction. Ooh, now that one hits a little bit there, too. You calling you an outlier there.
I don't know how I feel about that. Because here's the
That's
thing.
good old Justin Parsley.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's ever lied to anybody, I mean, it's Justin Parsley. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, the first time he came back, he hired me to do a job for him, and then kind of left me hanging in the middle of it, and left me to deal with his problems. And then,
So,
you
I got
know,
to ask you on that before I get to final thoughts and such. Though, you're seeing Justin Parsley unravel a little bit in XCW land and outside of XCW. Do you think then, in a way, that we are seeing the real Justin Parsley after all? I mean, what do you think on that?
So, if you remember a couple months ago, I mean, even last year when me and Justin
Yep,
had at it again after he came back, I mean, I told
I
you,
just showed it.
then, and I stand by it now, Justin Parsley, when he came back and did his whole thing about how sorry he was, I mean, that was the cover. It wasn't the fact that he came out and said whatever he wanted to say to disrespect, Benji, and it was all a big joke to get back in. I mean, that's not how things work. The cover up was him coming back and apologizing. I think the more and more things that don't go Justin Parsley's way, the more and more he's going to unravel that cover a little bit, and we're going to get to see truly who he is. It's the same thing with Miano Diaz, if you think about it. For the longest time, Miano wore the mask and he pretended he was everything everybody wanted to be, and then the minute he took that thing off and showed who he really was, I mean, look where he's been now. So, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where if Justin continuously goes down this downward spiral, you're going to find out who he really is. And I don't know about you, I'd really hate to be Rob Slater when that happens.
And it would also, is it fair to say that it's also impacting his results?
I mean, I would say that it's fair to say, but at the same time, I think it's all about if Justin accepts who he really is, then I think it won't be that big of an issue. But I think if Justin continually
But we've noticed since he's lost
pretends,
gold, you're
yeah,
seeing this, all play out a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think Justin is looking around and scratching around for square parts that aren't there,
Mm.
and I think sooner or later we're going to see how that comes out, and that would be another reason I think I would be interested in competing against the real ones one more time. At
Well, you
least
know what?
because if
Anything.
I could be that guy, if I could find that string, that one that pulls the whole fucking thing apart, then I'm gonna pull it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, we'll certainly find it. I got a bunch of comments here. Yeah, Brogan did take over the stream because unfortunately I actually got disconnected, but we're back on, and I appreciate that. I'm going to address this here. I'm glad XCW guys can come on. Well, XCW guys were always welcomed on the platform. There was never a ban on XCW people. I think that people do, and they're entitled to their opinions. And I think that people that are in different places that, they are saying different things, that's up to them. You may want to address those questions in particular, Fletch. I mean, there's guys here right now. I mean, I'm sure you could definitely DM them and you could maybe talk to them about what was said or certain things that came on. And, I'm sure that those guys would be, very open to talking with you on that. So that's something that, you're more than welcome to, obviously go about with. And Jack Delta's having fun. Thanks for the entertainment. Yeah, I'm having a great time. I think a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people are. Absolutely. We're having fun. And CJ Black says, pew, pew. The outliers can be tag champs anywhere. Well, you never say never. I mean, listen, who knows what the future brings? Could the outliers be in other places? That's a good question. That would obviously be up to you and Fletch. And I got a good question, though. And that's from Rob Slater. Question for Brogan. Who's the one XCW talent, past or present, that you feel you've always had to bring out your A game for when competing against inside the ring?
Hmm. See, that's a good one because I want to say that I try to bring my A game every time. You know what I mean? I want to be able to say that, but of course, everybody has their off days, especially on main stages like Summer Mania and Halloween Harvest.
Sure.
I think there's a couple of guys that come to mind, three or four in general, right? One of which being Fletch, of course. The next one being Brady Branson, because like I said earlier, I
You
feel like our
talked about the
names.
basically the time you've come in
Yeah,
and
we're just synonymous with each
yep,
other at this point. And then Corey Lee was another one that in 2020 we feuded for half the
yep.
season, and we had that ladder match at Summer Mania. And then the newest one, I mean, on the roster, in my opinion, is Miano Diaz. I
Good
think
one.
I think there's a lot of guys out there that are very good, talented wrestlers that I don't have to bring my A game for, just because they're so good by themselves that we're going to be able to get through whatever we're getting through, no matter what. Miano is one of those guys that I think has gone from point A to point B so drastically fast that every time I wrestle him or every time I go out there and perform with him, I want to make sure that I'm at my A game and make sure I can do
And he
my
hasn't
best thing for
even
him
scratched the
to
surface.
elevate him. Yeah,
Yeah, and he hasn't even scratched the surface yet. I mean, he's
right.
just
Well,
really
like
getting started.
somebody like Justin Parsley, I don't even have to think about wrestling or bringing my A game because it's gonna be there. It's just you have certain guys that you can work with in your sleep. You don't have to think about it. I mean, if Fletch was here right now, he'd tell you it's the same thing with him and Chris Jones. I mean, those are just two guys that have worked together so
Personal
much.
history,
They
decades.
can they can breathe and know what each other are about to do. I mean, it's just how it is. So, I mean, that those are a good group of guys. I would say that every time we wrestle, we plan stuff out, we bring our A game, and perform the best that we can every time.
I think that's fair, and I think I agree that Brady Branson is that guy that is like the yin and yang to you almost. He's like the yin and yang to you, Brady Branson. Is that he's that A game opponent for you? If that
Yes,
makes sense.
yes, yeah, he has to be. I mean, that's what everybody at XCW would tell you. I mean, if there's two guys that you put together because you want to make sure that a match is going to be stand up, I mean, you have a lot of those guys that you can pair together. But one pair is definitely me and Brady. Those are two that just automatically attach. So,
For sure.
absolutely,
For sure.
absolutely.
And obviously, Soul just said, can the Outliers win gold in other places? Well, that's obviously we'd have to find out. I mean, obviously, that would be a question that the guys would have to figure out, different particular places. I mean,
Well, we
certainly state.
don't we wouldn't talk about it. We're more about being about it. So I mean, the
Well, you
words are
have
for
to
the
see. I
week.
mean, I don't know. I don't know what the future brings. I don't know where
Sure,
people will wrestle in different companies. That's obviously a
right.
question that you'd have to ask each in particular, question. And Outliers versus the Foundation encounters 2024. Who knows? I mean, listen. Honestly, who really knows? I mean, honestly, that's why I tell people I'm not a promoter. I don't know. I mean, these are questions you have to ask each
Correct.
particular camp, and
the
and
the
I
point is the point isn't necessarily is whether or not it's going to happen. It's the fact that everybody's interested. And when you know that everybody's interested, you know you're doing something right. And when you're doing
yeah.
something right, it's inevitable that you're going to create magic. And
And you know what?
that's
You
the whole
never
point of
know
what we're
because
doing, Tom.
yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of magic out there, and you never know. Maybe it'll take place in this place, Summer Bash. Who knows? July 5th to July 7th in Bremen, Ohio. I mean, I hear Bremen, Ohio's near Indiana. What do I know? It's the biggest underground wrestling party of the summer. And who knows, really? Just who knows? Who knows what the future brings? You just never know. I mean, you never know. There's this PWF Rumble out there, and there's this guy, Isaiah Rage, who I think might win the thing. Maybe you'll see him around somewhere. I
Listen,
don't know.
listen.
I
All
just
I'm
don't know.
saying is if you watch the WatchMojo.com top
I do.
10 best backyard wrestling companies, XCW may or may not be on that list.
Oh, listen, there's no question that people, they know the history of XCW. There's no question that XCW people talk about a lot, and that's what's good. I think it's healthy. It's a healthy discussion. People are
Correct.
talking, and that's what it's all about. People want to talk. It's all wrestling matters, and that's what we're talking about here. But I got a lot more questions. I'm going to take this off the screen for a minute because people actually want to ask you more questions, and I'll
Sure.
let the people talk because what do I know? I know nothing. My A game opponent is definitely not Jacob Collins. Collins. That's like my F game opponent. Yeah, he's not a Jacob Collins fan, but I'm not going to ask him why he's not a Jacob Collins fan. He's just not a Jacob Collins fan. But
Listen, behind the scenes, I hear a lot. I know the reason, but it's not a
yeah,
reason
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
Sportswire.
yeah.
It's not a
Well, good enough.
Sportswire reason.
Good enough. Who are the WWE superstars that have inspired your wrestling style? When you turn on wrestling to study, what do you lean toward? That's a good question before we move on to a
Sure.
few final thoughts.
So I think there's a couple of wrestlers that I really like to lean on because my style is a little different. And so if you look at guys like Taz, Kurt Angle, Bubba Ray Dudley, guys like that, I mean, they're explosive guys who are able to do explosive things 30 seconds at a time. They had a pace that worked super solid for them. They had a character that worked well for them. I mean, as even bad as it is to say online, I mean, Chris Benoit, I mean, for his wrestling,
Well,
let's
you
say
know
that,
what
was
today was,
probably
right?
one of the most technically best wrestlers to ever exist on the planet. And I stand by that. Him and Eddie Guerrero together were phenomenal.
Well, you know what today was,
So
right? The anniversary of what he did, right? You know that, right?
I understand. That was part of the reason I brought it up, too. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
It's all over X right now. The whole day, it was like, yeah. I mean, I understand. Listen, there's no question that I actually still have a Chris Benoit shirt. I won't wear it. I could never wear it
Oh,
ever, but
yeah.
I still have the shirt. I
I
have
have
it.
it
I can't
tattooed on
wear
me.
it.
What are you talking? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Don't
well,
do that.
thank
That'd be
God I
super
don't have a
bad.
Chris. If I got a Chris Benoit tattoo, they would probably one on this platform, but we're not going to do that. Soldier says they're not ready. Who knows? Foundation is injury prone. Don't count on it. Bunch of sissies. So there you have it from CJ Black, the good guy. He says Watch Mojo's a credible source. Maybe, maybe not. But as we're coming toward the end of the show, obviously you see some technical issues here. Let me go with a couple things here first. Give me your final words going into Extreme King.
Yeah, it's the same that I feel like we say every time. Me and Fletch, we have a game plan. We've talked about it weeks in advance. We know what the goal is. We know what our objective is. It's not only to come in there and retain those tag team titles because that's number one. That's first thing, right? But number two, one of us is going to go to SummerMania for that main event for the XCW heavyweight title. It's like we spoke about earlier. When you get people like us in the ring, we're not going to backstab each other, but we will have a fair go at it at the end. Just because at the end of the day, we're both competitors at heart. But like I said, even better, whether it's me, whether it's him, one of us could have the chance of being XCW champ by the end of SummerMania, as well as retaining our tag team titles. So number one is beating EBW, and number two is winning Extreme King. So it's a pretty simple goal, but it's a tall order, I think.
Listen, everything's easier said than done. Let me ask you two last questions. My
Sure.
first question is, since it's been a while since you last been with us, and I'll still ask you since we're still about half year left in the calendar,
Yeah.
what are your goals for the rest of the year?
I think my goal for the rest of the year is to keep those tag team titles. I think being one of the longest reigning tag team champions out there would definitely be the next goal. I mean, if I can't win any more titles and add to the name, that is Brogan O'Shea, I'll definitely add some time onto those reigns. So that would be number one. I mean, if I win Extreme King and move on to Mania, then of course it's winning the XCW heavyweight title. So it's one thing at a time, but it's like I said, it's super simple. I think my goal is to retain.
Hey, you know what? Listen, anything's possible. Rome wasn't built in a day, but we're going to find out here for sure coming up real soon. And before I get to my last question and closing thoughts, I do have a few more comments. Let them keep on coming. Jacob Collins' A-game opponent is the priest back room no one else gets to visit or the hospital. I think he's talking about what happened in ROEW with Jason Storm and them. Yeah, that was definitely one where Jason Storm attacked him in his church. And I think that's what he's talking about. And Jacob Collins is still obviously on the injured list, quote unquote. Do we have an injured list in wrestling? I guess we do, but there you have it. But Big Man Cam seemed to have liked it because that's just Big Man Cam. He hates Jacob Collins. Jacob Collins' kryptonite is the Scholastic Book Fair. I actually remember the Scholastic Book Fairs. I remember those. Are those still such a thing? And do like books these days? Do like kids still read textbook? Like I don't know. I don't have
I don't
kids. Like
know.
I'm
I
always
only bought the Ripley's Believe It or Not books and stole the eraser tops. I have no idea.
Well, I was actually, I was good at books. I mean, I did like to read, but I don't know what it's like now. It's been a while since I've been in school. This is a shoot, but I don't have someone I've faced enough times in an in-ring environment to feel I have an A-game opponent. Collins is the only one that comes close out of ring. It's Holden Holloway, the man that you wrestled. Interesting. Very interesting there. Holden Holloway, a man I might see Saturday night. Tom spins everything so perfectly, laughing my ass off. Well, I try to, you did like my pivots, by the way. We were going off the air. We were like, wow, you really do those pivots good. And the reason I
Yep.
do those pivots so good is because I was at a radio station for 7 months. I was on a radio show, and I had to take calls. I had to screen them, and then I have to go out there and talk to the people. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's what I did for 7 months. Every Wednesday, I would go out there, and then they would like the guy that was doing the calls in the background, he would be listening, and I would actually have to do his job while I would be talking with my co-host. We'd be going back and forth, and I would have to kind of feed him. And then on the background, I have to see, well, who's the caller? Then I have to try to talk to them for a minute before they go on, and then still talk on the air. It was like, that's people ask me all the time, well, how do you do all this stuff? Well, it's because, I have that training, that experience. And, speaking of somebody that I know is definitely a part of things now with a different name in XTW, and he says Brogan. I think I know who this is. I'm going to not reveal his name, but say hello. You'll probably see him at, Extreme King this coming Thursday. And he's
I
got
would say it's probably pretty likely with a 30-man roster and 30 people in Extreme King that I may run into this person.
Yeah, I think you will, and he's got a new name, and he seems like he's having some new success, and he seems to be somebody that we might see on here. Yes.
Tom, I had a question for you too, by the way.
Ask
So
me
as
anything
far
you
as
want.
Extreme King surprises, is there anybody that you hope to see come out for Extreme King? Is there anybody that you're looking forward to seeing?
In XCW or outside? You said
Oh yeah,
surprise.
in XCW. So for our Extreme King, is there anybody that you want to see as a surprise entrant, or anybody that you would be excited to see come out?
I'll tell you who I'm really keeping an eye on, who I think I'm very curious to see what they do in Extreme King. Hunter Halkin. I'm very curious on what Hunter Halkin does in Extreme King. Because we've kind of seen this whole thing. Now he's beaten Justin Parsey, so obviously
Yep.
automatically that's somebody that's going to be keeping an eye on for most people here. But I'm really curious to see what he does, because we said this whole situation throughout the season, with
Yep.
Corey Lee and everything else there, Eric Mason. I think he's the guy that I think I'd be really curious to see what he does in terms of that. Another name I'm keeping an eye on, only because I'm going to be totally biased. Big Man Cam. Because think
Yeah.
about it, Extreme King, the size. Think about what he brings to the table. That's a guy that might be a dark horse, because big men and how they do in these things. I'd be very curious to see what he does in the Extreme King.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing we didn't really get to touch on too much was Hunter Halkin and Corey Lee and Eric Mason, their whole triangle
Oh
that
my
they had
goodness, I
going
don't
on.
I don't want to be in the crossfire with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it really makes you think about Corey Lee and what he's looking for and what he's trying to get out of this whole situation, because he's not in the XCW or EBW, feud, or he's not in the middle of that. He's kind of had his own thing going on where he's grooming again his own sect of people, kind of like if you want to say similar to a Vengeance when Fletch
Yep.
was the virus
Yep.
and was slowly grooming people one at a time, and I think that's one thing people or maybe not paying enough attention to, or maybe they just think that because it's Hunter Halkin, it's all going to go away and he'll take
I
care of
mean, the
it. But
talent is there. There's no question that his talent is as good as anybody's in this
sure,
circuit. But
and
he's kind of like an enigma right now.
I've wrestled both Corey Lee and Hunter Halkin, and I will say
Obviously.
one thing that they both have is skill. Both of them are tremendous athletes. Both of them are tremendous competitors. But one thing Corey Lee has that Hunter Halkin lacks is experience. I mean, Corey Lee has found a way to get his way for a very, very, very long time, and
Well,
so
I think Mason and Halkin automatically lack in that experience compared to
right.
Lee. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and he hasn't just been able to get what he wants within new guys. He's been able to do it amongst veterans for the last 12 years of his career. And so, I mean, as to say that Hunter Houken doesn't have a tall order, ahead of him, no matter what the outcome is of Extreme King or whatever happens, I mean, is an understatement. He definitely has a tall order and everything else that's going on. So I'm very interested to see where that goes in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think also just real quick on the Extreme King, before we move on and sign off for the evening, I
Sure.
think big men are names that I would be because of again the rumble itself, the
Yep.
size, those guys like Julian Void Jacobs, guys like Mitchell Maverick, guys like even the essential one Rob Slater, who's got a lot to prove. I think a
You got
lot
to
of the
toss
big
him
men.
over. Rob's 9 feet tall.
He's as tall as a glass of water is the running joke. I mean, that's to me, I think that the most interesting, like you asked me, like who would I be interested to watch? I think, those are names that come to mind. The big man cams of the world, the guys
Yep.
like Mitchell Maverick, the guys, again, like a Rob Slater who was here last Thursday on the show going back and forth with the foundation,
Right.
guys like Julian Void Jacobs, who's going to be here Sunday. I would be looking at those guys and seeing what they do because they would have the institutional advantages, obviously, depending on where they fall in terms of what number they get. But
Correct.
those are guys I would obviously, be very curious in what they do and where they would be. So, I mean, that would be, and then, curious, like, we talked about Miano Diaz, conversely of Miano Diaz, Hunter Houken, what do those guys bring to the table in
Milo
terms of
Malice, because you have to remember
Milo,
Milo
absolutely, another
Malice.
name.
Not only is he a big threat, but he also has that manager in Venom, who is
Yep.
probably one of the most dominant world champions of
And who's
XCW.
got a
Is
lot to prove right now for this season, a
a
lot to
lot
prove.
to
We
prove.
were here 9 months ago, and you talked a lot about, a lot of decisions he made. It was a lot of doubts there with him right now, and he's got
Mhm.
something to prove right now. And I think that's, another name you could throw to a young talent. Obviously, could make a big mark here. What a way to do it on this stage to make that happen. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you throw him in there as well, no question.
Yep, absolutely,
A
absolutely.
lot of things there in store. That's why you want to go to XCW's YouTube page, XC Wrestling One, Extreme King, 6 o'clock Eastern time. All XCW shows always start at 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So check it
Yep.
all out, 6 o'clock, and I'm going to be on the air right afterwards. So if people want to talk about it, they whatever it is, you're welcome to. And obviously, I love Big Man Cam does love it when I say his name. He does. He actually does like it. He's told me that, by the way. But obviously, yeah. So I'll just say, who knows? Maybe you guys will face in Summer Bash. I don't know. I don't really know what the future brings. That's up to you and Fletch to decide. And I
Correct.
think Nicholas Benson asked the same thing. You just never know what the future brings. Who knows? I mean, anything's possible. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a whole bunch of other surprises at Summer Bash. Maybe listen. How about guys like ACT? I'll tell you one name. I'm very curious. Remy Ravage at Summer Bash. Obviously
Oh
Summer Bash.
man, so that's
Extreme
one
King,
that
Remy
I just
Ravage.
want to
Remy
talk about
Ravage.
for 2 seconds. Remy
No,
Ravage.
spend a few minutes on Remy Ravage because Remy Ravage actually is always sharing my stuff. Remy Ravage has a victory over ACT recently. Remy Ravage is a name that a lot of people know from a lot of the days going back into the Global Backyard Wrestling Network here and in the past. No question. Remy Ravage to me might be a dark horse. That's an excellent point
if if you were to think dark horse in the true definition of one, Remy
of a dark
Ravage is
horse.
it. She
I think Remy
came,
Ravage, I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't
yeah,
agree with
she
you more.
came in and just immediately all of the knowledge in the world, all of the talent in the
In
world,
that
had
lane
all of
of
the
Justin
tools.
Parsley, Corey Lee, in that lane
Mhm.
of like, veteran, but really can still do some big damage, some major
See,
damage.
and that's the one thing that I feel like goes line on line with being called a veteran is like with experience comes age, and with age comes you're getting a little
Maturity.
slower. You become a little mature. You're not as hungry as you once were. The thing that makes Remy so good and the thing that makes her so different is she has all the experience in the world, but she's hungry. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not something where like
Hey,
you've been there
ACT
a
was the
long
world
time and
champion a few months ago, and Remy Ravage came in and she beat ACT. I mean,
that's
Remy
right.
Ravage to me, I think an Extreme King is an absolute dark horse. That I think that's a name, that I'm glad we spent a few minutes
And we
upon.
haven't, and a lot of our roster hasn't had any time to work with her or had any
Absolutely.
experience against her, and so when they come in, I mean, it's total toss up on what they're going to get, and I think that's going to be something to watch out for. Absolutely.
I agree with you that
Thank
I
you
would
for
add
bringing that
that
up
in.
too. Yeah, that was a good.
No,
That's a
I
good
appreciate.
point.
I think you and I kind of saved each other because it was good you asked that question that we kind of going back and forth on that. And I think
Yeah.
Remy Ravage is to me a real dark horse because again, she's somebody that has experience. She's been around the block, and she's come into XCW recently, a lot to prove. And that's the kind of person in these types of events, a la like a big man Kim, a young talent who's got size, but conversely, a Remy Ravage is somebody that's obviously got experience, looking
Yep.
to make a name for themselves on a big stage, looking to show that they're a main event player. And that's in that vein of a Justin Parsley, this was the Justin Parsley story a couple years ago. He comes into XCW and he's made a name for himself. This could be Remy Ravage, could be this year's Justin Parsley type. It's just very well possible. This is why you have to watch XC Wrestling 1 Extreme King Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Check it out. And reminder, on Sportswire Radio, Sunday night, Julian Void Jacobs, 9 o'clock is here to go into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And my last question is, what do you think about going into the Hall of Fame next month?
I mean, it's definitely a big honor, honestly. I mean, it's another thing that not only I can check off my resume, but Tom, I've truly enjoyed all of the time that we spent together on this episode and the last one that we had before.
I
So,
think a lot of people want to see you here more often. I think for Sportswire to put you in the Hall of Fame before the XCW puts you in the Hall of Fame, obviously I'm sure they'll take care
oh
of that
yeah.
after this season. But I think why not? I mean, after all, 10,000 people are going to be in the Hall of Fame. I got to get to 10,000, right? I mean, I got to make sure
Yeah.
it's in. I got to get there,
Tom, let's
right?
go for 50,000. I mean, who
I want
cares? You know what I
100,000 in
mean?
the Hall of Fame. You're speaking my
Yeah,
language, my man. That's what I say. I want a
that's what I'm
million
saying.
people in there.
It's about recognition. Like I said, I
That's
really
it.
do, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. Because,
No,
like
you
I
deserve
said,
it. And you know what? And I want to say this. Obviously, look, we obviously want to give everybody an opportunity, but that's what, I try to do every day on this platform. We had Osiris yesterday from ESW Shockwave. You're here. You're very much in that lane of Osiris. Mr. Hardcore was here earlier in the day on Sunday's show. And, we have all these different people. Jack Delta's back on Friday. We really try to, do that. 80% of the time on this platform is doing that, giving the people a chance to be honored and recognized. That's what it's about. All wrestling matters. It's about obviously putting people to give them that recognition. Julian Void Jacobs. Tomorrow, we have obviously Lydia Myers. Lydia Myers is somebody that's one of the most decorated women's independent wrestlers in the entire United States. She's going to be here to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We have obviously Tristan Taylor from the other portion of the PWF. He's going to be here. That's what we try to do here on Sportswire Radio,
yeah.
is to give people those opportunities. And I think that you definitely fit that to a T. I definitely think that we'll make that happen maybe sometime right before Summer Mania. We'll have you come back on, preview this. Maybe you'll be the Extreme King winner. Who knows? And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So you
I mean,
answered my
like you
question.
said 1,000 times, you got to tune in 6 o'clock and find out exactly what's
That's
going to
it. That's
happen.
it.
We
6
have a lot
o'clock.
of surprising things coming up, a lot of announcements, a lot of things that's going to go on. So you definitely don't want to miss it. I mean, the creative minds that we have behind our show are the people that we have for a reason. And boy, do they have something in store for this one.
Well,
So
that's why
definitely check it
people have
out.
to find out. There's so many flavors out there in wrestling, and that's why you try them all and see which one you like, and come
That's
back
right.
and tell us more about it. And those are the links there. If you want to follow XCW, all the links, all the platforms, you can check that out. Yeah, it's up to Fletch. I mean, Fletch has obviously got to decide. He'll figure it out with you
Oh,
guys, and
yeah.
never say never. It's all
Trust
you
me,
can really
something tells
do.
me we and him are gonna have a conversation after this. We're gonna text it and we're gonna figure something out because we had a lot of people, of course, message in and send in messages about being interested and like I said, us as the Outliers, we're willing to run with this and do whatever it takes to not only make this successful, but make this one of the most well known tag teams, not only in XCW history, but maybe in the world of semi professional wrestling in general. So.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of teams out here right now. The Foundation, you got obviously teams out there from all over the place. The real ones are here in the chat. I mean, you never know. You never know what can happen, and anything's possible. And we'll certainly talk about it here on Sportswire. Maybe the EBW rejects will get back to you. Nah, I don't think that's happening. Boyd Jacobs already beat Mitchell Maverick. That one's not going to happen. But I want to give you the floor, my friend. You've obviously been a lot of fun as always. I can't wait till right before Summer Mania. I'm going to give you the floor now, give you some closing thoughts. I'm going to keep the XCW link right here in the background for people to check out. And anything else you want to plug, share, or say, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, one thing that we've been working very hard on is check out our Instagram. Our Instagram is updated all the time. We have plenty of pictures of shows and what's going on before and after. A new episode of Showtime is just released on the XTW YouTube channel. So that's a good way to take a look on how not only life goes behind the scenes of an XTW
I've
show, but
seen
you
those,
get
yeah.
to know the real people who are there. So that's another thing to check out. We have Vortex all the time. We have,
Yep.
all of
Fridays
our
are Vortex usually.
yeah, we have all of our other shows going on
Rundown.
right now, and Rundown and On the Spot and a couple of other things. So make sure you're checking those out if you want to get to know the guys that put on the show that we do. And then other than that, of course, Extreme King baby. So we have that 6 o'clock, and you'll get to see not only that Pandora's box match, but some other very very good matches on the card that I'm not going to be able to say right now, as well as that coveted Extreme King battle royale. So.
That's it. You just go watch it and find out and join the conversation and check them out on those links. You can see it right there. Next event is Extreme King. And to close it out, anything is possible, baby. Anything is possible. Shawn Michaels on NXT. And there you have it. And we'll certainly see what the future brings. And congratulations on being a Grand Slam winner. Congratulations on winning your first tag team championship. I look forward to seeing what you do with Extreme King. Obviously, wishing you a lot of luck in the tag title match with Pandora's Box. Obviously, also being #1 in Extreme King. I look forward to seeing you certainly next month. And right before Summer Mania, we'll put you in right alongside Julian Voigt Jacobs and Justin Parsley and
Trust
some of the other
me,
guys, Chris
I
Jones and
I get
Fletch
the
and Jack
feeling that
Wall. Yep.
during that whole time we're gonna have a lot to talk about. There's gonna be a lot of stuff.
Oh, we are. You better believe it. That's
Yeah.
absolutely, there's nothing like that. And ladies and gentlemen, that is now one of the official Grand Slam winners in XCW history. He is from the Outliers. He is one half of the tag team champions there. He won his first tag team championship last month. His name is Brogan O'Shea, and he'll be wrestling this Thursday at XCW's Extreme King, their latest event leading into Summer Mania and much, much more. You can check him out at XC Wrestling 1 on YouTube to watch the show itself. Also check them out on Instagram, Facebook. You can also check them out on the xcwrestling1.wixsite.com website. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally of all wrestling matters. Also, you're going to see here next Monday night in your chair, right at the same time, Soldier GP goes into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame for a second time because he defeated Justin Parsley just like you did. Spoiler alert. That's why he's going in the Hall of Fame once again. But obviously, I want to thank Soldier for his support. Looking forward to that. Also, if you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming, and I'll be here tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern time, first with Lydia Myers. Lydia Myers, one of the most decorated independent women's wrestlers right now in the world. She's going to go in our Hall of Fame. Right after TBW's Rampage 164, Tristan Taylor. He is one of the owners of the PWF South. It's the Southern PWF version, and
Nice.
he is also part of UWA. He'll be here. So check all that out. And if you're here on YouTube, give us a sub. And thank you so much, everybody, tuning in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And thank you to everybody. Thank you to you, Brogan, and your support in XCW for tuning in. And we'll see everybody Thursday to watch Extreme King. And until then, thank you, and all wrestling matters.